All right, so in this video, we're going to begin by saying that everything up to this point, knowing how to make variables, knowing how to print them out, being able to work with collections, do simple if statements and conditions, looping through these collections. It's going to take a little practice. The total time that you spent watching this video is a fraction of what it'll take to get better at working with Python, even through what you've learned so far. Now, this next section is going to build on that, and it's going to be important for you to understand it. And what this is called is called Dictionaries. And what it does is it lets you reference the information in a lot more robust ways than what we've been able to do in these current collections. This right here is a collection of a list of strings, and we can loop through them. We can also, as we saw, reference them by number, but that's our only way to reference them. Python offers some alternatives. Let's see how we can create a book dictionary that has data in it that's more self-describing. So I'm going to say book equals, and I use this curly open bracket. It's next to the enter key and up to the left on most keyboards, but it's that curly bracket open, and then I use a single quote, and I'm going to call this the title of the book. And then we have a colon here, and we're going to have Sunrise News for the name of our book. And then we want an author for the book. So let's have author, and we'll call the author Bob. And let's have one more piece of information. And actually, we don't want space in there, Bob. Let's have year, and have a colon, and we'll go ahead and make this just a number. So it show that we don't have to have everything as text. So we'll say this was the year 2010, and we'll end that bracket like that. Now, what this lets us do is we can say, let's go ahead and print the book so we can see what we get, and we're going to go ahead and comment out these things too that we're printing, since we don't want the noise. Okay, so we also have to comment out the fours, because the comment makes it look like we just had that's something to remember. If you don't have anything after your loops, it's going to think they're broken, or after your if statements for that matter. And notice how when we printed out book that we got, just like we did with the other collections, we get the whole collection. And that's something important to remember when you're debugging your Python, you're working with Python programs. Don't hesitate to print out the whole collection, because it might be wrapped in a list, or it might be wrapped in a dictionary. It might be not, the data might not be packaged the way you think. And so by printing it out, you can see the structure. Now, let's watch what we can do that we couldn't do before. I can say book and say title like that, and reference it by the field here in our dictionary. And that's the critical part. That's what is the takeaway from this video. Notice how we got Sunrise News. If I go up and I change this to author, and then run it, we get Bob. So this allows us to reference these dictionaries with their names, with the data out of them. So you always have the name of the field, for lack of a better word, or the key, it's sometimes called. So this is like the key is title, and then this is the value, Sunrise News. The key, or the name of this particular field that we're getting out of this dictionary. This key is author, the value is Bob. year is the same way. So if I said print the year out, that should be trivial to do now for you. So let's make a dictionary called car, okay? I want you to make that dictionary, and when you make that dictionary, give the car like a model name for the car, a color for the car, and a license number. And you can decide on your own fields, but I want you to practice. Make a dictionary for car, and then I want you to see if you can use what you learned in your for loop to print out the elements of the dictionary. Is that possible? So let's see. Hopefully you tried to do some of that yourself. We're going to make a car, and we're going to call the model of the car will be, let's see, it's a Nova. And let's say the color is red, and the license is X something 32. Doesn't matter. The purpose is to get the practice of creating these. If you find yourself not willing to practice making little examples and practice making these data sets and playing with them in these real simple contexts, you're going to find it hard to practice doing the hard work of making Odoo applications and debugging them. So it's better to have fun making silly things. And let's just print the car, see what we get. Always better to test little bits. There we go. Colors red, models Nova, license that. Now, I wanted to talk about looping through them. So what if I said 4x in car, 1, 2, 3, 4, print x. See what happens. Notice how we get color, model, license. So it's actually returning to us the strings of the keys. Okay? So it's something to keep in mind. So what does that mean? What if we wanted to print the key and the value? Now that's a little tricky exercise if you've never programmed before. Even if you have, it might be a little tricky to get started. But the answer's here, and I'll show you the answer. If I make this key, so this is the key, you can tell that we're getting the color, the model, and the license. So this gives us our keys, right? Now how can I get those keys? And how can I use them? Red, Nova, KV32. So now I'm getting the result. So if I want to show the key, I can say key plus equals plus. So I'm basically making a string here. I'm saying, okay, the key is going to be color equals, and then I'm looking the key up out of the car. So when it's color, the color is going to get plugged in here, and I'll get the result red because I'm looking it up. It's the same as if, remember before, when I say print car color. That's perfectly valid. That's going to show red. And it's almost the same as if I said key color plus equals plus. So here I'm saying color, and I'm explicit about it. I'm not looking it up. I'm just saying it. And then here I'm looking up the color red, and I'm getting it out. This loop just automates it. So I'm looping through the keys, which would be model, color, license. Then I'm showing an equal sign, and then I'm using that key here, just like I'm using it here. So that's all there is to it, and you'll see the result when I run it. We get color equals red, model equals Nova, license equals this. Why is that powerful? Is because if I add more to this, like I could say miles per gallon, and it could be, here's the thing, is that it still needs to be in a string because of the way I wrote this. So we could keep that in there, 23 miles to the gallon. I can say we need to have miles on the odometer. How many miles does it have? And then it has, 54,000 miles. So now I added that to it, and when I run it, notice how it automatically is added to our our list here. We got our miles, we got our model, we got our license, miles per gallon, the color. So it's all coming through because of the loop. We can loop through it, but because of the keys, we know what every piece of data lines up with. So we can reference it by position, or we can reference it by name, and we can loop through it. So this is an important, powerful concept. So that'll wrap up this lecture. In our next lecture, we're going to look at how we can package up our programs and make them more modular, and it'll help you understand Odoo's structure a little bit better when you learn how you can make your own functions and own methods.